Welcome back. So, Aliens versus Predator. Last time we talked about crossovers, my personal experience with crossovers, some notable ones that I've seen or heard about or have some experience with over the years, and finally, why I didn't particularly like the concept of bringing together the Aliens and Predator universes. Yeah, when it comes to crossovers, it's like if characters are already established as being in the same universe, like Marvel Universe, DC Universe, things like that, I don't mind. But with Aliens and Predator, I always felt they should be separate. I mean, the biggest issue I had with it was the fact that by reducing the aliens to essentially cannon fodder for the Predators, I felt like it was making them far less scary. And I like my aliens to be scary. One of the things I love about the Alien movies is that they're freaking scary. They're the primary antagonists for those films. And, yeah. Anyway, Alien versus Predator. What did I think of it? Well, as you know, as I mentioned in the intro of the previous episode, I used to have both of these films on VHS. I actually bought them many, many moons ago. Not VHS, what am I talking about? DVD. Not quite that far back, but DVD. If you go back to my old, DVD collection overview videos, I think it's in the horror section. Might be sci-fi. I don't remember because it was 3 years ago. So if you go back to my collection overview from 2008, you will see the DVD editions there. I didn't watch them. I actually sold them before I got around to watching them. I basically just bought them cheap and put them in the collection to complete both the Alien and Predator collections, and but never got around to watching them. So it wasn't until I got the Blu-ray set recently that I finally sat down and watched them. I basically had a double bill of them one night and decided, well, okay, let's do it. I've got them on Blu-ray. Might as well check them out. See if they're as bad as everybody says they are. Now, it's interesting, when I've talked to people about these movies, the opinion seems to be very divided. I mean, the general consensus is that they're not very good movies. But that said, everyone seems to have a different opinion of, which one of the two they like better. Me, personally, I actually liked the first one a lot better than the second one. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I'll try to explain why over the course of this review. So let's talk about just in general some questions and concerns I had about them. The biggest one being, as soon as the first one started, I thought, why is it set in modern day? That's a problem right off the bat, because here you have Mr. Wayland, played by Lance Henriksen, presumably one of the founders of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which anybody familiar with the Alien franchise will know. In modern day, like, what the hell? Okay, all the Alien movies are set sometime in the future. I don't think we even know specifically what years they are. But maybe it probably says, like, on a view screen somewhere if you have a sharp eye. But anyway, they're set way in the future, and presumably the Weyland-Yutani Corporation has, only been around in the future. But it's like with the Alien vs. Predator movies, it's like they try to set up, I guess, an origin for that, which is, cool, I guess. I mean, it's nice to get a little more backstory, and, it suggests that these are, in fact, canon to the Alien universe, and to the Predator universe as well, I guess, which is what bugs me about it. I think I don't know, if there's going to be any more Alien movies, I'm thinking this may be disavowed. I don't know. I think it was disavowed in Predators, which I have not seen yet. I've heard that one's really good, though, and I really want to check that one out. But anyway, so that was my biggest question right off the bat, was why the hell is it set in modern day? It's like, okay, the Predator movies were set in modern day, but the Alien movies were not yet. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the first movie basically details this expedition where an ancient temple has been discovered, buried under the ice, remnants of some ancient civilization, and and it's cool. I thought it actually had a pretty decent backstory. I mean, when they finally figure out what's going on and what this ancient civilization was and how they essentially were slaves to the predators, like willing slaves to the predators, just giving themselves up, thinking that they were gods, giving themselves up to be essentially incubators for aliens, so that the predators could hunt and have aliens to hunt. I thought that was taking the basic premise of what I understand about the comics and adapting it fairly well. I mean, I thought that was a fairly straightforward thing where they basically had this thing set up as a breeding area for aliens, and the temple itself would change and be a labyrinth, and it would reconfigure itself and such, presenting a pretty hardcore challenge for predators in training, essentially. And I thought, okay, that's actually kind of cool, because they it's not like they're seasoned predators going down and just laying waste to aliens. No, these are like inexperienced predators going down and proving themselves by showing how they can stand up to the alien creatures. The other question I had was, or the sort of issue I had was like, wow, the alien life cycle sure is a lot faster than I remember. I swear, it's like they go from face hugger to chest burster in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's ridiculously fast. And, I was reading on IMDb one sort of thing, like speculation, explanation, justification, whatever, that they tried to come up with was saying, well, it's not unreasonable to assume that maybe there's some scientist predators who studied the alien life cycle and just figured out a way to accelerate the gestation process, since these particular aliens are not being bred as a colony to further the species. They're just being bred for hunting purposes. So yeah, it doesn't really, I guess that maybe one might even speculate further, maybe these aliens are imperfect in a way because they've not had a full gestation. I don't know. They seemed pretty perfect to me, the way they were dealing with the predators. But anyway, I know a lot of people didn't like the first one because they said that it didn't have enough alien versus predator action. And that's fair. The actual action quotient of it, I mean, essentially the reason why you're going to see a movie called Alien vs. Predator, is a little bit on the low side. However, in the defense of that, I think that the story and the backstory that surrounds the action sequences is interesting and has enough of a strength on its own that if it had just been non-stop action sequences, it would have gotten boring very quickly. And to be fair, the action sequences that are there, like when the predators and aliens finally do start going at it, it's pretty damn good. Like the action sequences themselves, I thought were really well done. I really enjoyed seeing seeing cases where sometimes the predators were winning, sometimes the aliens were winning, and I enjoyed the action sequences very much. And given that I found the backstory sufficiently compelling to hold my interest, I had no problem with that being taking a little bit more center stage from the action. I mean, to me, it just means that the action sequences, when they did occur, just held that much more weight because you've been waiting so long to see that. So when it finally does happen, and the action sequence itself is a really kick-ass action sequence, it's like, wow, that was totally worth the wait. Let's see some more. So by then you're all pumped and you want to see more, obviously, and then you do get more later. And that's fine. I thought, like, in terms of the pacing, it was fine. I really had no big issue with it. The main things I had issues with the first one, like, honestly, as you can probably tell, I actually enjoyed the first one a lot more than I was expecting. In particular, I really liked when we finally got a flashback sequence to when the ancient civilization was still active, and showing what happened, essentially how the aliens had just got out of control and overrun the whole thing. It's just when the camera pulls back and you just see this like swarm of aliens piling up the temple and laying waste to the predators, and then finally they're just like, fuck it, we gotta nuke the whole thing. And that was it. But I thought that was a really spectacular sequence. I mean, yeah, granted, it's CG overload, but there's no other way you could do a sequence like that. It would just be impossible to do practically. And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean, the main issues I had with it were just the ones I already went into. You know, just the question of it. Why is it in modern day? I mean, they could have easily set it in the future and still had the same story. You know, I mean, it could still be an ancient civilization that predates modern day civilization. You know, there was no reason for it to be set in modern day, and I think it would have worked better if it had been set in the future to make it more, because we know the predators are still going to be around in the time of aliens unless somehow they get all wiped out, but I highly doubt that. I mean, they're a smart race. They're a race of super hunters, and they obviously have you know, pretty strong culture of their own. They're survivors. They're going to be around in the far-flung future when the alien movies are set, so I really don't know why it was set in modern day. That puzzled me. And then the gestational period of the aliens, basically, where, I mean, you can try to rationalize it logically, but I mean, you know, really the only reason they did that was because they basically just said, fuck it, we need aliens in this for the predators to fight, so let's just have them grow up real fast so we can get to the action. So they just didn't waste any time. I mean, we've seen the whole life cycle before. We know what happens. We know the whole deal. So we didn't need to retread that ground again, and I think that was basically the reasoning for it, is they just wanted to get to the action. Now we get to the second one. Now the second one I was really looking forward to, because after watching the first one I thought, oh, that actually wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it was. I mean, it wasn't great. It didn't need to be made. But for what it was, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Now the second one, on the other hand, the second one I have a lot more issues with. Okay, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. First off, it wasn't directed by Paul Anderson. Now, I know there's a lot of Paul Anderson haters out there, but let me just sort of defend Paul Anderson a little bit. As much as people seem to dislike him, let's face it, he is a pretty stylish director. I mean, he's not... I've heard him described as like an uber hack, like a hack that is such a hack that he puts other hacks... He makes other hacks look good. I don't think he's a hack. Not at all. I mean, he's sort of become the go-to guy for these kinds of action, horror, sci-fi things. And it's obvious that he's a big fan of, you know, the sci-fi and horror genres, and he's basically a fanboy with a budget. You know, he does this stuff because he likes it. And but I actually really enjoy his directing style, and I think a lot of the time, and I think that he's done some good movies, like Mortal Kombat, for example, his American directorial debut. I think prior to that he was doing music videos. And so he kind of brings a music video style to his movies, which I think, in this day and age of the MTV generation, so to speak, works really well. I think he's a perfectly competent, modern, popcorn movie director. Event Horizon, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi horror movies. That's one of his, you know. The Resident Evil movies, which I know people are divided on, and we've discussed that before. Go back and watch my review of the Resident Evil Steelbook Blu-rays a while back. But I mean, they're competently directed. Like the Resident Evil movies that were directed by him, I think are some of the best out of the series. You know, especially the first one. I really liked the first one a lot. So anyway, the first Alien vs. Predator was directed by him and written, or at least co-written by him. And you know, I think in terms of visual style and whatnot, it's fine. You know, it's got a nice look to it, which works really well. Plus, I'm kind of a sucker for ancient temple stories. I've always liked things set in ancient temples, especially ones that are full of booby traps. That just, you know, like back in Indiana Jones and a lot of the old movie serials, and even old episodes of G.I. Joe were often set in ancient temples and such. I mean, for God's sake, the Cobra. How many temples did Cobra have over the years? You know, in ancient Egypt, just the culture and the pyramids and old tombs and things that... I've always been fascinated by stuff like that. So throw some sci-fi horror in and add an ancient temple, and pretty much guaranteed I'm going to enjoy it, at least to some degree. So, okay, the second one, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. That one was not directed by Paul Anderson, and boy does it show. It really shows. I swear, if you watch these two movies back to back, you can almost instantly see the difference in directing style. Even if you don't normally have an eye for that sort of thing, it is plainly obvious. Like, the second one, just... I found the directing kind of boring, actually. It just didn't have the same kind of little visual flourishes and I don't know, just punch that the first one had in terms of the visual style of it. Anyway, that aside, story-wise, what the hell did they do? Like, what the fuck were they thinking with the second one? Basically, okay, we have it picks up right where the first one leaves off. So, at first I was thinking, oh, cool, it's like a total direct sequel. It like picks up right the second the first one leaves off and continues on from there. So that's a good start. Like, awesome, proper sequel, continuity, love it. And then it all just goes rapidly downhill from there. Essentially what it devolves into is a slasher flick, just with aliens and predators instead of a slasher. The biggest problem I have with Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and most of you probably know exactly what I'm about to say. What is with all the graphic violence towards kids and babies? What the fuck? Like, seriously. I've seen in discussion forums some people try to defend that by saying, "Oh, I think it was very ballsy showing all that violence towards women. You don't see them trying to push the envelope like that." It was not ballsy, okay? It was done strictly for shock value, for the sake of shock value. It did not further the story any. There was no need for it. It was just pure, unadulterated exploitation. That was it. And that is bullshit. This kind of thing does not need that. Alright? To me, that aspect of it was just shitting on the classiness of the rest of the goddamn franchise. You know? Did Aliens have violence towards kids? Oh yeah, sure. You had Newt, who was in constant peril, but did she get brutally, violated by aliens? No, of course not. You know, you had, I don't know, it's just, it was so unnecessary. I mean, the opening scene basically has father and son out hunting in the woods, and they encounter, like an alien egg, and both get latched onto by face huggers. And then you have a scene, again, with the ridiculously accelerated life cycle, you have a scene like a few minutes later of both of them having chest bursters erupt on them. Oh yeah, you see it. You see the kid have the chest burster come out of him. Now, in terms of the behind the scenes, I'm sure it was lots of fun for the kid. I mean, what kid doesn't love to be in a monster movie, right? But in terms of the story and the context of the story, it was just, I was just like, oh fuck, like what the hell are they doing, you know? I mean, and it just put a really sour spin on it for me right from the moment go. And I thought, okay, well, there's your one shocking kid death moment. Hopefully that's it. Oh no, that's not it. That's not it by a long shot. Let's fast forward a while to the big scene where I don't give a fuck if I'm giving you spoilers here. This is Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which as far as I'm concerned is a complete and utter shitfest. Okay? And there is nothing anybody will ever be able to say to me that will convince me otherwise. Alright? There are a few redeeming qualities, but it is not enough to overshadow the shitfestiness. Okay? Yeah, let's fast forward to the big hospital scene. Big hospital scene, basically, essentially what happens is things get out of control because of the events of the first one, just to give you a brief plot summary, and aliens are starting to overrun this small town. So the Predators catch wind of this, and the Predators are very, you know, they didn't want to, their intention was never to wipe out Earth. They're basically just there to hunt aliens and use a few humans to do that. But it was never their intention to wipe out the Earth. They just wanted to do some hunting and then go on their merry way. So things got out of control. So they need to clean up their mess. Okay? And they also need to cover their tracks because they don't want humans knowing about them and stuff, I guess, or something like that. So anyway, what they do is they send down a cleaner. who everybody refers to as Wolf. I guess a reference to Pulp Fiction, Mr. Wolf, Harvey Keitel's character. So essentially the Predator in this is like the Harvey Keitel of Predators. He's sent down to clean up the mess. So he wipes out any aliens that he finds, and he has like apparently an endless supply of molecular acid that he uses to dispose of the evidence. And that's fine. And he was like the one redeeming quality of the whole thing. Wolf was badass. You know, he was really badass. The only thing is, obviously, the situation was bigger than they anticipated, and he should have got back up at some point, because it just gets completely out of control. But that's one of the nice things about it, is there is a bleakness to it and a sense of impending doom, and basically nobody gets out alive. I mean, by the end, it's fucking doom. It's doomsday. Everybody's doomed. Doom, doom, doomy, doom, doom, as Miss Bitters would say. So yeah, anyway, back to the hospital. So the aliens are making their way into the hospital, and all hell's breaking loose. And we stop by the newborn baby wing. Yeah. Isn't that nice? We all love babies. And all the babies start crying. And it is that, you know, rip your soul out, distressing cry that babies do. That something is horribly wrong, and they know it. And around the corner, you see the Pred alien, which, by the way, is a Predator-alien hybrid. And I think that was part of what started the mess. The Predator-alien hybrid can impregnate people with 3 chest bursters. So the aliens are, and these are accelerated gestation period aliens to boot. So you're having 3 times the aliens being made all over the place. And the Pred alien is basically just going around impregnating everybody in the universe and killing anybody who gets in its way. So the Pred alien starts to come around the corner and like looks towards the baby wing. And then thank God it cuts away. But you know what happens next. You just know. You don't have to see it. You know. You've been given sufficient setup that you know the Predator alien just wiped out the whole fucking newborn baby wing. Oh yeah. Real ballsy. Let's kill some more babies, shall we? Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Oh no, it doesn't stop there by a long shot. Cut to the maternity ward. A woman comes in, ridiculously pregnant, about to pop. She's going to give birth any second. Who shows up? The Predator alien again. Or sorry, the Pred alien as they call it. Whatever, I don't give a fuck what it's called. It was a stupid idea. I don't think it was cool at all. I think it was stupid. So, yeah, that's my big, detailed, you know, thought-provoking review. It was stupid! So the Pred alien basically sucks face with the pregnant woman and implants 3 embryos down her throat. And some people say, well, the throat doesn't lead to the womb. It's like, well, you know what? Face huggers, which we've seen for 30 frickin' years, go in through the mouth too, and somehow manage to make a alien baby out of that. So yeah, so basically it attacks and violates the pregnant woman, implants 3 embryos, and then a little while later you see 3 chest bursters explode out of her pregnant stomach. The baby that was presumably in there is nowhere to be seen. I guess they ate it. Yeah, real ballsy. Way to go. Way to push the envelope. I'd like to see more baby killing in movies. Yeah. So, Alien vs. Predator Requiem is better? Really? I'd really like to know, those of you who think that, why do you think that? And if you say it's because you think it was ballsy because of all the fucking child killing, go fuck yourself and unsubscribe right now. Seriously. I am not... No, that's just not it. That is not ballsy. That is not cutting edge. That is not something to be respected or admired. This director was just a sick fuck who didn't know how to make a proper sci-fi horror movie and instead went for pure exploitation. Plain and simple. And not the fun kind of exploitation, you know? Like, we've all seen drive-in movie style exploitation movies which are all about babes and boobs and blood. That's fine. But you don't have this kind of shit. I mean, there has to be a line, okay? And the line for me is excessive violence against children. That's it. I don't mind a little peril. A little peril is fine. Peril is fine. Everybody loves a bit of peril. But for God's sake, don't kill the kids, because they're our future. So, Alien versus Predator. Definitely a mixed bag. I will watch the first one again. I'll probably watch the second one again at some point too, just because I actually did really like the Cleaner character. But, man, very disappointing. Like, that series, you know, started off with at least some potential for something interesting. But, man, did it go downhill fast. Well, let's take a look at the packaging, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so here we have the Alien vs. Predator Unrated 2-pack. It actually does have both the theatrical and unrated versions. You know, love or hate the Alien vs. Predator movies, I gotta say they do have pretty cool artwork on the covers. That does not absolve them of their other sins against humanity, but at least they have nice covers. So let's take a look, shall we? So this is a very nice, shiny box. Very cool. Look very nice on the shelf, and that's, of course, you know, how to look spine out, or you can have the spines of the movies out. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one here. Let's have Alien. There, okay. Just Alien vs. Predator, very nice. And then on the back, I guess because it was part of the 2-pack, they have this sticker over the barcode, so it, you know, not to be sold separately, whatever. Anyway, so your special features there. And text specs there, little description, very nice. Open her up, no insert, just a regular keep case with you know, the AVP logo on there. Amazing. Okay, then we have Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which I think is a beautiful cover. I really like the artisticness of the artwork on there. It's actually quite cool, a little bit artsy-fartsy. Too bad the film was not. That's pretty cool. And then again, just your description, special features, and text specs there. And then finally, if we open her up, we actually do have a couple of discs here. I think one of them is the digital copy. Yeah, so this is the oh so useful digital copy, and then of course the Blu-ray there. Let's see, when does the digital copy expire? Because I know they do. Code that permits transfer of digital copy may not be valid after April 14th, 2009. Yeah, I just bought that this year in 2011. That's very useful. So, there you go. There's our little insert code. And there's my code for the digital copy. I don't care if you know it because it's useless! Yay! There we go. Alrighty, so close that up. Movie box. Movies in the box. Amazing. Simply amazing. Great! It has nice covers. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. I think I've said pretty much all I can say about Alien vs. Predator. I've gone on for almost half an hour just talking about the movie, plus however long the packaging thing was. I don't even know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this kind of ranty little review. Yeah, it seems very subjective about, you know, people who like them or don't. Most people seem to not like them, but they tend to like one or the other better than the other. I just, yeah. I think the first one had a more solid plot. The second one had some interesting ideas, but relied too heavily on exploitation of the bad kind to be appealing to me. And just the overall story of the second one I thought was really poorly executed. I mean, it's basically a small-town slasher film, just with aliens and predators instead of a slasher. You know, really nothing original there at all. And I mean, I know a lot of people are big fans of the comics, and they've apparently done some really interesting things with the comics. So much so, I've heard so many good things about the comics that I'm actually considering giving them a second chance, you know. And I guess that's one good thing about the movies, is they've made me want to check out the comics. So maybe it's not all bad after all. Anyway, that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.